So hi guys, Toby and Tim back in episode 5 part 2 of the how Germany lost the war. So last episode, last part, sorry, we looked at part 1. We looked at the kind of planning and preparation and overview of Operation Market Garden, the big Allied and infantry assault by British and American troops to take 5 bridges over Holland and into the heartland of Germany, the Ruhr, which was, well, that's what they all thought. So part 2, will be looking at the the actual kind of go ahead of the main operation. So last part spoke about kind of the plan of it, the actual makeup and the overview of it, and this part I'll be telling you about the whole scenario. So 30 Corps, or the commander of 30 Corps, which is Brian Horrocks, he wanted to make a massive dash basically from one side of kind of Holland, or the 5 bridges, towards Arnhem, the complete other side. They wanted to do it in literally just a couple of weeks, very, very quickly. Operation Market Garden was from 17th of September to the 24th/25th of September 1944. It was in kind of that September, mid to late September month. And now some more what you can kind of class as people who actually planned it was Bernard Montgomery, very famous Monty. He planned the operation, as well as loads of other US generals and other British generals as well. So this part is more specific look at the American landings by the 101st Screaming Eagles and the All-America 82nd Airborne Division, two very famous divisions. And now there are 2 very famous bridges known as Nijmegen, Eindhoven and Nijmegen Bridge, which are for the Americans very famous part. And of course other bridges, Son and Grave, they're very famous as well with the Americans. But that's that. So Toby's going to talk to you a bit more about the 101st and 82nd US troops and their airborne drop over the kind of earlier bridges down the line. So Toby?
Okay, so the 101st, the Screaming Eagles, and the All-American 82nd, originally, so having had a bit of rest time since Normandy, they were going back into the battle as real veterans this time. They'd been in Sicily, they'd been now in Normandy, and now this is, their 3rd main mission, Operation Market Garden, or I think Garden itself this time. So the drop itself went reasonably well to plan, and they were actually able to remove a lot of the German opposition in the area. I have actually heard pretty interesting stories again of so apparently there were so many of them that one of them dropped above the other, of course, because they're coming out of a plane, and one person, a medic, nearly caved in the parachute of the guy below him, and he entitled his post-war memoirs "Look Out Below." We've also heard of they did have a bit of an issue, though, because they lacked heavy weapons. All airborne units do. And this was made worse by the fact, in the confusion of the landings, a lot of them, if they couldn't, and I guess soldiers don't really want to, lug around extra weight that they do not need. Each, or most soldiers carried a corresponding part to a heavy weapon, basically. And if they couldn't find that weapon fairly soon, they just threw it away, so they ended up with, half-complete weapons that couldn't really be used. However, still I would say a great improvement on the Fallschirmjäger, who actually had to scramble around looking for drop canisters. So the problems really started when the Germans started actually moving in on the landing ground itself. Casualties definitely were taken, and I've heard of one guy actually being wounded, I think shot in both legs, so he couldn't walk, but he actually somehow managed to capture 2 German soldiers, and he made them pull him around on a handcart, basically, until he reached where he was supposed to be going. Meanwhile, they were advancing, into the cities, and there was some pretty brutal fighting. However, the amazing welcome they received really still hasn't been forgotten. There's still a lot of commemorations in the Netherlands. Just a lot of flowers and things everywhere. It was really quite moving. However, the issue was they didn't really want to happen to them what then later happened to the airborne at Arnhem, which was the armoured divisions not reaching them in time. And luckily they did, but only by, the Americans weren't too happy because we took a bit of time getting up the cab route, I think, which is what it was kind of nicknamed by the British. Another interesting fact regarding this route is Dutch officers were actually kind of in the headquarters, giving advice to the British and Americans. And these people were ignored because the British were advancing, right up the main road. Now, in their officer training in the Dutch army, anyone who tried to do that would instantly fail because they knew it would be just too difficult, really, too easy to defend. So, back to Tim.
Right, yeah, thanks, Toby. As Toby was explaining there, it's a massive operation, huge. It's a big operation where they've got quite little time to rush it and get it over and done with. Speed was the key for the US and British airborne drops, and of course, the most importantly is 30 Corps. Now, the British 30 Corps, cloth insignia I've got here, is the famous kind of hog or ram there. Very famous black, white on black. That's British 30 Corps under the command, I say under the command, it was in the British Second Army, which was stationed there, but 30 Corps was far more famous. So whilst the American 82nd and 101st troops were dropped over their respected bridges kind of along the